Hey guys, it's Mrs. Gregerson, and I just wanted to go over some problems from your Algebra Review Day 3 homework. Um, One thing that I want to make sure that we're doing is factoring well. And just remember a few things that you need to do. First step is always what? First step, always look for a greatest common factor and take it out if it's there. So an example of this was like number 2 on your homework, because that was actually all you could do. On number 2 on the homework, it said the following: 6x cubed y minus 3x squared y squared plus 9x squared y squared. Now, remember, when you look for greatest common factor, it has to come out of all three terms. So what number comes out of all three terms? Well, 3 comes out of all three. And then I look to see what variable comes out of all three. So I have an x cubed, x squared, and x squared. Well, an x squared can come out of all three. And then we have a y, y squared, and y. So we took out a y from all of them. Now remember, I'm dividing this out. So I look at my first term here, and I'm taking out a 3x squared y, which leaves a 2x. My second term is a negative 3x squared y squared. Well, obviously 3 divided by 3 is 1. X squared divided by x squared is 1, so that's gone. And I took a y out of the y squared, which leaves that as a y. So if you don't have the 1 there, that's totally okay. Just remember, 1y or a y is fine. And then the last one, we have a 3x squared y squared, and I can take out a 3 from there, because 9 divided by 3 is 3. I can take out an x squared, which is 1, and I can take a y out of the y squared. And so we get here, y, oops, I just realized that was a cubed here up earlier, and that's my fault for getting that wrong. So I take a y out of the y cubed, which gives you a y squared. And that is the most you can factor that one. Now, also remember, you've got to always take out your greatest common factor. So for instance, look at number 7. And then we're going to look at number 13 after that, and then we're going to go back to number 11. So in number 7, you have 8y to the 4th minus 10y cubed minus 3y squared. So first things first, always look for greatest common factor. What is the greatest common factor that I have here? I have a y squared, which leaves then an 8y squared minus 10y minus 3. Now I'm at a perfect square, not a perfect square trinomial, excuse me. I'm at a trinomial, so now I'm going to sit there and try, guess, and check. So I get my two sets of parentheses. I look at my sign. It's a subtraction sign. So then I'm going to put a plus or a minus on the inside. I'm given an 8y squared, so I need to think what factors of 8 I can use, and you're going to end up using a 4y and a 2y. You always try to find the two that are closest together. Then you are going to sit there and say, what factors of 3 do I have? Well, I have factors of 3 are 3 and 1. So you can try 3 here and 1 here, or remember, you can try it the other way around, 1 and 3. Now the reason why I picked the second way around, 1 and 3, is because I'm looking at my middle term here, negative 10, and I know my OI affects it, so you have to remember to use the whole thing. So you check by doing the outside, which is a negative 12y, multiplied by the added with what you get from when you multiply together the inside terms, which is 2y, and I get a negative 10y, which is my value here. So when I look at that, that means I factored it completely. I put my signs in the same correct location, and I have the correct answer. Now remember, if your answers do not match mine, what can be different is, like, you could change the order of your binomials. Great. What I mean, you could have the 2y minus 3 first, and you can have your 4y plus 1. But what's inside the parentheses has to be the same, period, or it's wrong. You guys with me on that? That's what I thought. All right, now let's try another one. Let's try 21. That looks like a fun one. So we have 21h squared plus 72h minus 48. All right, so what do we look for first? We always look for a greatest common factor, right? So we take out a 3. So what do you have here? A 7 h squared plus, well, what's 3 comes out of 72? Well, that's a 24h minus 16. So then we have our two sets of parentheses, so we get a plus and a minus. Well, we look at our first one, we have a 7h. Well, the nice thing about that, that's prime. So we have a 7h and a 1h. Then we look and say, okay, what two numbers multiply together be 16? Well, you always try the two closest factors together, because remember 16, you're going to have 1, 16, 2, 8, 4, and 4. So we're going to try 4 and 4 first. So go 4 here, 4 here. Doesn't really matter where you place the 4s, but again, if that doesn't work, then we will logically try 2 and 8. So here, I'm going to do the OI to make sure I got this right, and I get negative 28h plus a inside, which is a positive 4h, and that gives a negative 24h. Now, here's the problem. What do I need here? I need a positive one, not a negative, which means you're really close to being the right thing. You just got to change signs. This needs to become, oops, that needs to become a subtraction sign, while this one needs to become an addition sign. So then when you do your OI, you get a positive 28h minus 4h, which is 24h. All right, hopefully that makes sense to you and it works. All right. Now, there's other ones that you can do. Like, let's look at 15. But the one that I want to do next is I want to do the factoring by grouping problem, because that seems to be always a hard problem for people every year. So let's look at number 11. The problem is 12p to the fourth plus 10p cubed minus 36p squared minus 30p. Now, factoring by grouping is you put your groups in, your four numbers in groups of 2. So I'm going to look at these two together. I'm going to look at these two together. So when I do that, I look at this first one for a greatest common factor. Well, the largest or greatest common factor I can take out is going to end up being a 2p cubed, which leaves then a 6p plus 5. Now that means when I'm looking over here at this negative 36p squared minus 30p, I'm really hoping that I can pull out a negative here to get a 6p plus 5 on the inside. So I look at this and say, like, how am I going to get that? Well, what's my greatest common factor for the last two? Well, that's a negative 6. Yes, a negative can be your greatest common factor as long as it comes out of all of them. So when I do that, notice I get my parentheses now. I get, with this one, you know what? Did I just take, I'm looking at something to make sure I got this one. So I got a p squared. What? Looked like I did something wrong here. I want to make sure I wrote it down right. P squared p. Oh, you know what I forgot, guys? I forgot to take out the greatest common factor on this side. It needed to be a negative 6p, which then left us with 6p plus 5. Ah, my fault completely for not pulling that earlier. So please forgive me. I knew something was missing. So when I do that, I look here now, and this is now my greatest common factor. So I pull it out, so I get 6p plus 5, and then you got to go, all right, what's left? Well, what's left is a 2p cubed minus 6p. All right, guys. Didn't work like I wanted it to, but oh well, we'll keep going on this one. I just could have taken out a better greatest common factor than that. You know what? I can't stand this. I'm going to have to fix it. Now, the way I was doing it, you could finish it that way, but I don't like it. We're going to start over on number 11, and we're going to try it again. All right, so let's try this again. So we got a 12p to the fourth plus 10p cubed minus 36p squared minus 30p. Now, here's where I'm hypocritical, my friends. I told you I had to take out your greatest common factor. What did I not do first? I did not take out the greatest common factor, which in this case would be a 2p, which leaves 6p cubed plus 5p squared minus 18p minus 15. All right, so now I get that. It makes way more sense. I'm still going to do the things where I group two together 2 together. That does not change. So the 2p comes around, because remember, if you're completely factoring, you can't get rid of the stuff. So I look at it and say, okay, what's the greatest common factor of 6p cubed plus 5p squared? And that is going to end up being a p squared, which leaves you at 6p plus 5, which means over here I want a 6p plus 5. Greatest common factor that comes out is a -3. So I get a 2p, and I get our 2 sets of parentheses, so we get a p squared minus 3, and our other one, what's left, actually I'm going to take out the greatest common factor first, 6p plus 5, take those out, what's left, we have a p squared minus 3. Does that make sense? I probably have utterly confused you, so we'll probably be going over this one again on Monday once I get back. So hopefully that will get you guys started.